You're listening to the Palestine in America podcast. I'm your host, Nader Hmoud. On today's episode, we're joined by Aylah Mayali. She became the first Palestinian woman wrestler when she competed at the Senior Asian Wrestling Championship last March in Amman. Mayali, who comes from a wrestling family, joined the Palestine in America podcast to discuss her journey, her early wrestling career in Canada, and how she plans to qualify for the 2028 Olympics and represent her parents' homeland. You were just in Amman for it was the Asian Championship qualifiers.
Yeah, so the Senior Asian Championships.
And so how did that invitation come across your desk?
So that was actually my first tournament representing Palestine. It was super random. I got the call like last month, and the guy was like, "Your transfer went through from Canada. Do you want to wrestle Asian Championships?" And Asian Championships is probably the hardest tournament post after the Olympics. So I was like, I haven't really been training as much, but you know what? It's a great tournament to dip my toes in, figure out what the next 4 years is gonna look like. So they called me and they're like, it's gonna be in Amman. It's a great place. Like, it's a very welcoming place, especially as a Palestinian. Why don't you just go do it? No one's expecting you to win. Just literally expecting you to step on the mats. So,
I mean, when I first saw a fellow reporter share, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the first Palestinian woman wrestler to compete like that, or do I have?
yeah, so the first female Palestinian wrestler ever.
So that in itself is an amazing feat. I know, you probably when you saw that your first opponent of the tournament was from Uzbekistan, which is known for,
Yeah.
known for its fighting and combat sports. How did that feel, seeing that was your first matchup?
I mean, honestly, I didn't expect like every match at Asians is going to be hard. Like, no matter your draw, whether you get like Japan, you get India, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, like every single country knows how to wrestle. Unfortunately, it's like in their genes. So I didn't expect like an easy draw. I just really wanted like a match where I wanted to go and compete. And compared to like, I feel like if I drew Japan first match, drawing Uzbekistan, like it actually kind of gave me some time. Like I had 6 minutes out there. I had to go and compete, get some, like I got some points up, which was nice. So like it was just a chance for me to go and compete, which was, I mean, it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't the best draw, but it could have been worse.
And how was the reception from the rest of the wrestlers seeing a wrestler from Palestine be a part of that tournament?
A lot of people were confused because like even our men's program, it's not that big. We only had one guy competing for us. So it was one guy, one girl. So a lot of people were like it was definitely support, but it was also confused, especially because like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I guess like she's never wrestled before." Like, but I had like my background obviously wrestling in Canada. So training like leading up to the tournament, I was training with Japan and China. So that they were just a lot of people were just confused.
So wait, you were training with the Japanese team in
Yeah,
China?
so I got there like a week before competition and I had to be on the mats, but usually when you're on the mats it's with your team, but because we don't have another girl for me to work with, I was like trying to get into like other teams' workouts. So I was fortunate that Japan let me work with them. China also let me work with them. So
Oh, so it wasn't in China, it was Japan and China.
no, no, no. Yeah, yeah. It was
Okay.
Japan and China in Jordan.
Yeah, because for a second I wasn't following, and I was like, "Wow, you had to go all the way to China
Oh,
to train
no.
with." I was like, "It's not making sense." But so yeah, so that's pretty. I mean, I understand that from that sense because yeah, when you go and you wrestle, you practicing with your teammates, and you don't
Yeah.
have any other women teammates to practice with,
Mhm.
which is different than what you had going on in Canada, obviously. But so who is this guy? Because I'm trying to connect the dots. Who is the guy that runs the wrestling program that informed you about this tournament?
So his name is Riyad Hassan. So he's the Secretary General for Palestinian like Wrestling Federation. But it's funny because he's also a ref in Canada. So he's kind of seen like my journey like throughout high school, throughout university, and then I guess he found out I was Palestinian and he was like, oh, okay, perfect. Like we can't get one from inside, so let's see if we can find like a Canadian. So then he was the one who was like working behind the scenes because like transferring like nationalities, I'm not sure how it is with baseball or other sports, but like it's very hard in wrestling, especially like if you've been on Team Canada, like with continental medals, they're very tough on transferring. So he was in the background working like all the details, trying to get me to transfer for the last 3 years. So it finally went through this year.
So you've been competing internationally for Canada for the last before you started competing for Palestine?
Yeah.
And so take me through that journey that like how did wrestling become a thing for you?
So I actually played basketball my entire life. I played basketball since I was like 6 years old up until like grade 12. And then grade 11, I was kind of getting sick of like the whole team sports. Like I was getting a little frustrated. There's a lot of politics in every sport, but basketball in Ontario, there's seems to be a lot more than usual. So I saw wrestling was being offered at my high school, and my dad was like, you know what? Why don't you go try it? He used to wrestle in high school.
Your dad?
Because like it's so weird. So I am like my all of my uncles wrestled, like all four of them wrestled, and they tried to get their sons to wrestle, and no one wanted to wrestle. So they're like, someone has to. And for some reason it was the girl. For some reason it was me. So my dad's like, go try it out, why not? And then I ended up really liking it. I really liked the whole like individual sport aspect. I don't know. I just ended up falling in love with the sport. I ended up joining a club in grade 11, like that same year. So I got beat up quite a lot, but I just liked it. I was on a really great team at the time. Like my club team had like multiple world medalists on it. Everyone was on we had people on like the cadet, junior, and senior national team. So it was a great place. Like it was a great room to be in. So then I did that grade 11 and 12. In first year of university, I went to McMaster University. It's in Hamilton on a athletic scholarship there for wrestling. So that's when I kind of started taking it a bit more seriously. Like I wanted to compete internationally. I wanted to make like a national team. So then in 2021, I made the national team for the junior national team for Canada, and I went to Pan Am's and I got a silver medal there. Unfortunately, I lost to America.
How dare you?
But yeah.
Well, how does that switch happen, where you went from trying the sport, you know, that your dad used to wrestle and your uncles used to wrestle as well, to being like, I want to take this seriously, and because wrestling's not a joke. Like
Yeah.
it's funny because like you get like I don't know if you have the same relationship, like a love-hate relationship with it, right? While you're in it, while you're sweating,
Yeah.
getting your ass beat, you're like, I hate this thing. But then now I'm like, I miss the room, I miss the camaraderie, I miss the duck
Mhm.
walks on the mat.
Duck walks.
All of it, the wheelbarrows, all the things
Yeah.
I hated about, warming up before practice.
Mhm.
I miss that stuff. So like, how did you get from, being a sport that you just kind of enjoyed doing to being like, yeah, I'm gonna take it to the next level where people are trying to like kill you.
Honestly, like I'm very competitive. I think it's because I have two brothers, but I took this sport where I was like kind of good on it, kind of good at it. I was a bit successful like trying it at first. I mean, like the high school like circuit isn't that great in Ontario, so I had like
Were you
some
just
success.
dominating the circuit? Or you just like
I wasn't dominating, but I was winning matches. Winning matches was enough for me to be like, oh, okay, like let me see. Like my biggest thing was like I like pushing myself to be uncomfortable, and wrestling was really uncomfortable for me. So I wanted to see like how like where I could go with this because I was like a bit successful, but I was like if I actually I put in the time, I put in the effort, like I want to do this post-secondary, I want to do this like internationally. It was just a matter of me being like, let me see how far I can take it. And then I ended up just falling in love with it.
So what do you think is there anything next on the horizon with the Palestinian national team?
So my goal, like we have a 3-year plan in place right now for LA 28. So that's my biggest goal right now is trying to get into like wrestling in Asia, wrestling in Europe is a lot different than wrestling like the Pan Am circuit. So their style is completely different. So this whole year right now is just going to be a development year to get into like different rooms, get into different clubs. Like I want to train in Japan, I want to train in Kazakhstan. Just get my foot into like places where I know this is a style I'm gonna have to deal with because like I want to be like I want to get good enough where I can be competitive next Asian Championships.
So I know there's like a difference between, high school wrestling to college wrestling. There's like little intricacies, little rule
Mhm.
changes and stuff like that. What was the biggest, rule change for you going into like, because you said there's a difference between the Pan Ams and, wrestling Asian countries. What was that difference? Can you get a little bit specific about that?
Yeah, so for like style, the wrestling style in Asia is very I like to say hands-on. Like you don't get a second to breathe. They're constantly hand fighting with you. They're constantly snapping. Like with them, it's a lot of chain wrestling. Like you don't get in on one thing, you're working to get that other thing. If that doesn't work, you're going through the other thing. So in Canada, like I can get away with taking a crappy shot and working to finish it from that crappy shot. I took a crappy shot at Asians. I was like on my stomach, fish, like looking like a fish out of water. So it's definitely different in terms of like you're not getting that second to breathe. Like you're not backing up at all. Like you got to be constantly moving forward, hands on. Like you just got to fight. Like a lot of them just treat it like it's a fight. Like at the end of the day it is, but it's a lot more aggressive, a lot more hands on.
What do you th you said you like, the aspect of the sport that, gets you into uncomfortable positions, makes you uncomfortable. But, once you've been doing something for so long, you start to get comfortable at things. What is, your most comfortable part of wrestling? Is it the single leg, a double leg, a fireman's carry? Like what's something that that's your go-to move that if you need a takedown, that you can obviously it won't work against anybody when you're at that top of the,
Yeah.
food chain, but when you're in your high school era and your college era, what worked the best for you?
Yeah, so my sweep single, it's basically just like a low single. I can probably get it like 9 out of 10 times, but honestly, it's just because so I'm a left lead leg stance, which is very uncommon. Like only 4% of wrestlers are a lefty. So I always have it available to me because everyone is a righty, so it's right there for me all the time. So if I need to score or if I need to get anything, my sweep single, like 9 out of 10 times, like I'm gonna get it. Like even at the Asian Championships, I got in on it 3 times. I didn't necessarily finish it, but I got in.
Hey,
So always
that's the
there.
biggest that's a big challenge, right? Just getting in on it. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of memories of people sprawling or cross facing me. So
Oh my God, crossface.
your dad suggested the sport. Did your mom have any say in this?
So at the beginning, like my mom, so I played rugby a little bit in high school as well, and my mom was not a fan. She's like,
No.
shin, whatever, like turf burn, all of that. She's like, there is no way, quit. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'll go do wrestling. And then she's like, the black eyes and everything. Like, I've gone through a lot of injuries, unfortunately. So my mom was like, I don't like this. But then something like switched as soon as I got into university. And now my mom knows like wrestling history front to back. I don't even know how she knows everything, but she went from being like you're gonna get hurt to now she's like, why aren't you in the gym training your single leg snap down high crotch? And I'm like, okay, chill. So my mom now is a lot more supportive than my dad, which is kind of crazy.
That's wild. My mom hated that I wrestled, but she had a funny humor to her because she knew I wasn't that good at it. And she would just always ask me, like, did you lose again today? And I
Oh my
just,
God. That's so mean.
like, well, the thing is, just to, give you a little bit of, my history is I went to Lane Tech High School in Chicago, which has
Mhm.
a really good wrestling program. And my cousin went there like a decade before me, and he was, a state qualifier, and and he had the most wins in my high school's history before I got there.
Wow.
And so when the wrestling coach saw me and I was in his gym class, he was like, "Oh, you're gonna join the wrestling team," and I was like, "No."
Definitely not.
And then when I didn't make the baseball team and I wanted to join the sport, I was like, "All right, fine, I'll give it a try." And then I fell in love
Yeah.
with the sport, and it was all over from there, but I was nowhere near as good. My biggest nickname when I was in high school wrestling was 150 Fluke because I took second at regionals because some guy slammed me on my head.
A win is a win.
A win is a win, is what I said. You know?
That's so
Well,
funny.
but like I still love the sport and but like my parents hated it and
Yeah.
but like so it's like so crazy and amazing that your parents were supportive of you doing this sport. Your parents, are they both Palestinian?
Yeah, both my parents are Palestinian.
That's and so now you have your Palestinian mother like being your biggest fan. It just kind of reminds me of, I don't know how familiar you are with Bilal Muhammad,
Hmm.
but like he used to say his mom would never watch any of his fights. You know?
Yeah,
And so like, but she's his biggest supporter. She doesn't want to see her baby get knocked out.
obviously not. Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, he's a champ now. So I'm
Yeah.
sure she's probably like his number one fan now. So uh, what's that road to the Olympics in 2028 looking like? I'm sure you have like a plan in place. Is there any competitions that you're looking forward to that you've been invited to already?
Yeah, so this year I really want to focus on, like, as I said, training, but there are a couple tournaments so I really want to do Arab Championships. So those are coming up in June. And then Islamic Games is this year, which is really exciting. So those are going to be I think they're in December. And then other than that, I might do like another tournament either in Spain and then obviously like World Championships in Croatia in September. So,
So does like I I would call this like professional wrestling. Does when you get to like these professional ranks, because this is the best of the best, you're not just, doing exhibition matches here or there. You're just either training and in tournaments
yeah.
and that's it, right?
Yeah. So I'm not doing anything like that's where like there's a drastic change compared to like so the university circuit is like you're competing every weekend, these exhibition matches, like you're doing a tournament at every school from October all the way until February. So I'm used to that like go go go. Now it's like I gotta get kind of used to the okay, chill, rest your body, lift, train, and these are like the four major tournaments in a year that you're going to compete at.
And then is there a wrestler that you know, try to mirror their success, or you try to, you know, mold yourself into kind of like what they are? Is there a wrestler that I hate to use the word idolize, but
Mm.
for lack of a better word, idolize or kind of look up to?
So there's no real like I follow wrestling really heavily. I'd say I watch a lot of wrestling. I watch a lot of like got both guys and girls. There's a lot of like wrestlers who I'm fans of. Like I'm a big fan of David Taylor. He's in the States, but there's no one I really try to like mirror. I'd say like the closest person is like she's actually my training partner, which is really crazy, but like she's a very successful international wrestler. Her name's Braxton Papadopoulos, but she has a very cool style of wrestling that I try and mirror, and it's very helpful that we're actually training partners. So she's been very successful, like both at like she won Pan Am Games, like on the world stage. Like I think her style of wrestling is something that like I aspire to get to, where like she always knows what she wants. So I would say her, but in terms of that, like international, there's a lot of people who I watch and I admire their wrestling and like their strength and their ability to like wrestle the way they do, but there's no one who I really idolize.
No, that's fair. Especially in combat sports. I imagine you guys are all thinking like I can kick that person's ass. So it's
I mean,
not
I don't think that, but a lot of people do. You're not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I was a very pragmatic combat fighter myself. I always knew like I'm probably gonna get my ass kicked, but I'm gonna go out there and try my best.
Yeah, give it my best effort.
Um, well, I really enjoyed our conversation, but I want to leave it on, maybe something that you maybe not haven't thought of yet, because I know athletes are always thinking about like what's next and not what's coming like 5 years down the road, or even
Mhm.
2 or 3 years down the road. But after after you attempt and hopefully get into the Olympics and qualify for the Olympics, what's next for you? Is there anything else? Will you want to continue combat sports outside of just wrestling, or once your wrestling career on the international stage is done, are you going to hang up your wrestling shoes and your headgear and and focus on other things.
Yeah, so I think 2028, like if I'm hopeful, I'd say maybe 2032, but once once my wrestling career is done, I think I don't want to get into any other combat sports. I really do enjoy coaching though. I do a lot of coaching here in Canada with like the Team Ontario boys. Like I've been fortunate enough to like take them internationally. So I would love to focus on like coaching not in Canada, but trying to build a program like in the Middle East for girls because like I'm obviously like the first one to do it, but I feel like if they had someone who kind of knows what they're doing, can like lead a program, I think that's something that I would love to do. I'd love to get into coaching and to like just helping, like giving back to the youth, especially girls in the Middle East.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know that even though it's an individual sport, it could also be a team sport.
Yeah,
You know, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see you doing what the baseball team is doing now, where they started from scratch and now they have, an adult team, a U15 team, and I know that they're building a softball team as well.
that's
So,
amazing.
so like I could definitely see you, and hopefully you can get this accomplished where, maybe you're coaching the men and the women's team, and
Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
maybe one day 2040 we get
2040,
gold.
who knows?
We get gold.
That's so funny.
I'm
But
always dreaming big for us. So
yeah.
I really appreciate your time. Ayla, thank you so much for joining me